Hello everyone, welcome to another Booktube video. My name is Ailsa and today I am talking about my reading goals for the month of April. Since we're already a little over a week into April when I'm filming this, I thought about doing this as an April and May video combined, and then I realised that actually I am going away for a long weekend in about a week's time over the Easter break, and I'm hoping to get a lot of reading done then. And actually the other books on my reading list for April are quite short, or like finishing up things that I've already started. So actually I think there's plenty to talk about if we just do April together. So first of all, I've already read one book in April, and that is Lord of Secrets by Breanna Teintze. I will talk about that very soon in a reading wrap up of some kind because I loved it. It's not out till July though, so I will do a written review near the time as well. I'm also currently reading, or rather rereading, Kushiel's Dart by Jacqueline Carey. This is the first in her trilogy about Breanna who, and it's set in a kind of post-Roman, not really medieval kind of setting in France. I read this a little over 10 years ago probably and really loved it. And I just thought it would be fun to reread it now, having had that long time in between, and also maybe then go on to her second trilogy, which is set after this one, I believe, but in the same world, because I really enjoyed these books the first time around. Since this is quite chunky, I'm reading it in bed at the moment at the end of the day rather than taking it on my commute, which means it's taking a bit longer to get through it. The book then that I'm currently reading on my commute and in my lunch breaks is The Rose Chord by J.D. Oswald. This is about a dragon called Benfro and a boy called Errol. This one is a kind of typical medieval fantasy setting. It is the second book in a series, and I will talk more about it once I've finished reading it. The next book after that for my commute is one that I've mentioned already, and that is Carrying Albert Home. I haven't got around to it yet, partly because I don't have that pull to read it, and then when I would have read it next, I picked up something else because I wanted something short to squeeze into my March books, and I didn't think I would finish this one in time. So this really is up next, and I will talk more about it once I have read it. Another book that I'm hoping to read this month is Leaf by Niggle by J.R.R. Tolkien. This is a really short Tolkien book. It is, it's less than 50 pages, so I think I can definitely read this in one day. I don't really know anything of what it's about, but while I was working at HarperCollins in production, we reprinted it many times because all of a sudden, I think there was a play going on for it in Edinburgh, and suddenly people heard about the book, and it got really popular, and that was interesting because it's such a tiny wee thing, and it just kept surprising us with how popular it was being. So I am looking forward to finding out what it's about and reading another Tolkien story because I do enjoy his work. Probably on the same day that I take that one with me to read on my commute, because it's so short, I am also going to take Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. This is the first book in her series. I want to say trilogy, but I believe it's actually a set of 4. I have read most of this book. You can see that's how far I got through it. It's just this little bit at the end to read. That's under 100 pages. In fact, I think it's only about 30 pages that I haven't read of the book. And for some reason, I just got that near the end, and I guess something else distracted me, and I just haven't quite finished it. And I got to that point in it a while ago, because I'm sure it was before we moved into this house, and we've been here coming up on 2 years, so that really is a long time. So I just want to get it finished so I can get the book off my TBR list. I mentioned that I'm going away for the Easter break. I'm actually going to Oslo, and I'm really excited about that. I've never been before, and in fact I've never been to Norway at all, so I'm really looking forward to it. And one of the things that I like to do when I'm in new places is to just kind of sit for a while somewhere, sit in an outdoor cafe if it's that kind of weather, or sit inside somewhere, go to parks and sit and read, and just kind of soak up the atmosphere while I'm sat there and see it that way. But equally, I'm only there a couple of days, and I think I'm travelling just with hand luggage, So I need a book that is fairly small, and also because it's the commitment of just taking one book with me for the holiday, I wanted something that I'm fairly sure I'm going to like. So that did actually limit it a lot, because there's so many things that I think, oh, maybe I like this, or the ones that I'm fairly sure I like are a lot fatter. But the one I picked in the end was Swords of Good Men by Snorri Kristjansson. This is a fantasy novel. It sounds like fairly standard epic fantasy if you read the back. I'll just read you what it says because it's quite brief. It says, for Ulfar Thormodson, the Viking town of Stenvik is the last stop on a 2-year-long journey before he goes home. But for other larger powers, Stenvik is about to become the meeting ground in a great war, one that will see a clash of the old gods versus the new white Christ. One that will see blood wash the land. Totally unintentional, but I just realised that if this is about Vikings and I'm going to Norway, then actually that's super appropriate. I know that they have a Viking longboat museum in Oslo, which is one of the things I'm looking forward to seeing, so that will maybe fit quite well to be reading while I'm there. Finally, if I do get through all of those books this month, I would like to move on to Picnic in Provence by Elizabeth Bard. Elizabeth Bard has written another book called Lunch in Paris, which I read a few years ago and really enjoyed. It's kind of part memoir, part cookbook about Elizabeth's life and how she ended up growing up in America and then moving to Paris to be with a man that she'd met there while she was either working or studying abroad. I can't quite remember which. Who she eventually marries, and she became a food blogger or cookery blogger, something along those lines, and began eventually supporting herself that way, I believe. And this book is about what happened after the end of that book. It's just kind of continuing the story of her life. I've had this one for a while. It is published by Summersdale. It came out quite a few years ago, so I'm looking forward to hopefully getting to that very soon. Those are all the books that I am planning to read in April. Have you read any of these? What did you think of them? I'd also be really interested in hearing what you are planning to read this month. But apart from that, happy reading everyone, and I will talk to you soon. Bye!